Hello, I'm on another adventure. I'm here at Pike Lake State Campground here in Ohio. It's in Ross County, just south of Chillicothe, Ohio. And I'm staying at a cabin here. Would you like to come in and see? I'll give you the $2 tour. As you can see, it's a really nice cabin. We're staying in what they call the preferred cabin. Now, they have two different types of cabins that you can rent here at Pike Lake. They have the preferred cabin, which we're staying in, and then they also have some smaller cabins that are a little smaller, basically one room, kitchen, bathroom, and they haven't been updated as nicely as the preferred cabins. But they come at a cheaper price too. But they seem to be okay. I guess it just depends what you're looking for. I think we may have paid $120 a night for this particular cabin here. And the smaller cabins, I think they're probably around maybe $75, $80 a night. Not 100% sure on that. But this is a really nice cabin. And it's a pet-friendly cabin. We brought our Great Dane with us. And we had this beautiful view here on the porch. We booked it for 3 nights. If you like nature, this definitely seems to be the place to go. It seems to be rather quiet, not a lot of people here. Heavily forested. Not exactly sure what we'll be doing here in the next couple days. They do have a lake that you can rent paddle boats, canoes, kayaks, and of course they have plenty of hiking trails. Well, that wasn't a bad hike. While I was out, I collected a few things for tonight's build. Might do this trail tonight when it's a little darker. I'm back from my morning hike. While I was out, I picked up a few interesting items that I found. Let me show you. So I thought about making a little pendulum for some amateur ghost hunting tonight. And so while I was out on my morning hike, I found some unique items to use. I've got some pieces of wood, some fishing line that I found by the lake, a goose feather, a snail shell, a little piece of glass, and some rock that they call shell. So the plan is to construct this into a pendulum. We're off to go rent a paddle wheel boat.
Or do one over there, that one.
Either or. Let's go, Emily. Well, this is definitely a great way to get your exercise. We're just basking in the sun out here. It's really nice. Time to go eat. We decided to do another little evening hike around the lake tonight with the dog.
The dog's not wanting to cooperate.
See if we can get a picture of him here. She could be able to make it down the stairs.
You want to try it? Come on, Paul. I bet you can do it. You got it. I know. You're doing so good. Come on. You're doing so good. There you go. Good boy. Don't go that way. Okay. Come on. glad we didn't do this one at night.
Yeah.
This one would be really hard to do in the dark. We are right here at sea.
The wind's starting to pick up. Not sure if you can hear me or not, but I thought I'd go out for a little hike. It's really windy. It's almost like it's gonna rain. But I wanted to show you where a Union soldier is buried down by the lake. Looks like it's snowing out here. Not sure what kind of footage that's going to show on the camera. This light's blinding me. But that wind really kicked up there. So I'm not sure if you could hear me back there earlier, but I wanted to walk down to the lake. There's an old Union soldier that's buried there. Single grave, buried in 1864. And once we get down there, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Well, the rain is starting to come down, so I'm gonna head back to the cabin. I don't wanna get my top hat wet. I'll tell you about the grave at the cabin. Made it back. A little wet. Sorry I couldn't tell you about the grave while I was down there, but it was getting ready to rain. It was raining, starting to sprinkle. So I thought I'd just go ahead and get some video and then tell you about it when I got back here. But I'm pretty exhausted right now. I had to run back to the cabin. I think maybe I'll tell you the story tomorrow over a cup of coffee. Had a busy day today. A long day. I think it's time to go to bed. Good morning. It's beautiful out. It's around 9:30. Slept in this morning. It's nice and cool out here. So anyways, going back to the story that I wanted to tell you last night, which I didn't because of the rain. So as the story goes, and I didn't even know this until I got here and I was walking down by the lake and I walked over to these trees and I saw this marker. And then I read the story behind it. But anyway, so as the story goes, there was a family that lived in the area here. And in 1864, the husband went away, was called up to join the Union Army. And this was in 1864. And so he had to make his way to where the unit was to join the unit, which was someplace, I'm guessing, near the Ohio River or in southern Ohio. But anyways, on his way
to join up to the Union, he had to travel the Ohio River. And somehow, some way, he drowned. And his body was never found. And once word reached back to his wife here in the local area that he had drowned and his body was not recovered, about a day or two later, this mysterious Union soldier showed up at her house. He was so incapacitated, malnourished, sickly, that he didn't even have enough energy to tell who he was or his name. And so the lady did her best to try to nurse him back to health, but he ended up dying a few days later. And so she buried him under that maple tree out there. And that was back in, I believe, August of 1864. And then they made this monument, or erected this monument, the tombstone down there, as a little memorial to all the Union soldiers who had lost their life during the war. So that's kind of the story behind that little single grave here in the valley. Kind of interesting. Is it haunted? I'm not sure. I guess if you went down there and did some investigating, you might find something. Not sure if I'm going to do that or not. So we've been here, this is our third day. So we'll spend the night here tonight, and then tomorrow we'll leave. Not sure what's on the agenda today. Thought about getting in the vehicle and doing a little sightseeing. Close by in the area, there is Thomas Worthington's home, who was the first governor of the state of Ohio. And then there's also the Great Serpent Mound, which is interesting. I was there a couple years ago. I might do that. And then, of course, there may be some ghost hunting tonight. There is one other story that I did find before I came here of haunting. Supposedly, in this area, in this valley here, because Pike Lake sits between these two ridges, and then it's kind of flat in the valley where the lake is. And so it actually is a pretty good place for like a homestead. So the story is that years ago, when this area was first settled, there were some families here that settled the area, and they were clearing the land so that they could farm it. And in order to clear the land, they had to cut the trees down and get rid of all the timber. And so they would have these big gatherings where they would all get together and help each other clear the land. And so as the story goes, there was this family, this young lady, who was partaking in this land clearing, and they would cut down all the trees and then build this gigantic bonfire to burn all the brush and undesirable pieces of lumber that they couldn't use. And this was like probably a week long. I mean, it probably took a long time, and that's a lot of wood to burn. So what had happened was this young lady was tending this gigantic bonfire, just, making sure that the fire was contained and that no stray logs, kind of rolled off the fire and went someplace where it shouldn't be. And it was supposedly this was like stacked really high, just logs, brush, super high. And while she was near the fire, she, had a stick that she would push back the coals and so forth. Something gave way at the top, and this log rolled off the top of the fire and just rolled down the side of it and ran into her, knocked her down, hit her at the legs. And as it hit her legs, she fell forward, and her hands went into that hot fire, the hot coals, and just burnt her severely. Burnt her arm so bad that when she went to pull back up, or when they pulled her back up out of the fire, her arms fell off. They were burnt to a crisp. There was nothing there. So this is where the story goes. So apparently, someplace in this valley at Pike Lake, you can see floating hands and arms, which are said to be that of the young girl. Is it true? Don't know. But usually with these folklores and legends, there's usually some truth to it, I think. It may have been twisted over the years, but there's probably some truth to it. Now there may be other haunted stories in the area, but that's the only one that I found so far. And again, I have no idea where exactly on the property here that would be located. But I can only assume, like I said before, because Pike Lake sits in like a valley and there's ridges on each side, it's probably in the general area where the lake is, because that's a nice flat area where the campground is. It would be suitable for a homestead, for farming. So if I had to guess, that'd probably be my prime location. Now, they do have campsites here too, so if you're not interested in getting a cabin, there's a campground that's run by the state park too, and that's located down by the river in the flat area. And there's, I think, around 79 sites there, and I believe they're all electric. It's really nice. I have some pictures, I think, in this video of me walking down there and looking around. It wasn't very crowded. There's probably maybe 10 campsites in use there. This is the pendulum that I made from the things I found on my little nature hike. I had a knife with me, so I kind of trimmed down the splintered wood. I found some fishing line that I found at the lake. This is a piece of shell that I found when I was out hiking. I found this little snail shell, and I just fastened it together. I thought I would make a pendulum to do a little ghost hunting. Now, the thought behind this was that usually, a lot of times you'll see people hold the pendulum, and I've really seen that thing start moving around a lot. In fact, I've had it move around a lot on myself. But my theory behind making this little tripod was that when you're holding a pendulum, is it you, yourself, that's making that really spin? Or is it the energy, the spirits, that's making it spin? So by putting it on a tripod where there's no touch in it, and there's no wind, that's the key, there's no wind. It'd have to be someplace where there's no wind. And you start asking questions. Will this move according to what you ask it? Whether you want it to go clockwise, counterclockwise, back and forth. And I don't know. Now, I do believe in ghosts. I've had several experiences myself, and I've even talked about them here on the YouTube channel. So it's not that I don't believe. I'm sorry to say that I didn't really do any ghost hunting this weekend. I didn't use this. When I first made it, my daughter and I sat out here and we were just kind of playing around a little bit. I had my old phone with me, and I had like a little ghost app on it, which was kind of fun. It just kind of went through like the radio frequencies and just would display like words every once in a while. I don't know how accurate those are, but so I didn't do that this weekend. just kind of ran out of time. I thought about doing it each night, but by the time night rolled around, I was thoroughly tired from hiking all day. But I do have a ghost adventure planned for July. The old Delaware County Sheriff's Office, right down the street from my house, they're having a ghost hunt, a 2-hour ghost hunt with professional ghost hunters. So I did book a time slot for that. So hopefully I'll be able to film that and we'll do some ghost hunting. If you ever had any luck using one of these pendulums, or you have some ghost stories, be sure to write them down in the comment. I'd like to hear about them. I was hoping maybe I'd come across those floating arms and hands, and perhaps maybe those floating arms and hands would give me a neck massage. My back and neck are killing me, and I'm not sure. Perhaps it was the bed I slept in. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this video up. It's time to pack up and head home. It was a great little adventure. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know I wasn't making anything spooky or scary, although I did make the pendulum. I guess I just can't get away from making things. But this is a really cool place. Would I come back again? Yeah, I would. But you need to know what this place is if you do come here. I mean, you gotta make do with what you have. So if you're looking for, I guess it really depends on what kind of activities you're into. This could be the greatest place on earth, or you could be really bored. So I guess the key is knowing what this place has to offer, making your decision on whether you want to come here or not. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you like little adventures like this, you like Halloween, you like prop building, be sure to check out my other videos in the channel. And if you really like it, consider subscribing to the channel. Until then, I'll talk to you later.